Hello, you're listening to or watching Season 2 of the More Than Roommates podcast. I'm Dan, here with my roommate and co-host, Graham. How are you doing? It's been a long time.
Yeah, kind of slipped into the void there, so to speak.
Yes.
But, doing well, keeping busy.
Good.
Yeah.
So sorry for the long break in posting. We just had a lot going on. Did not intend for it to be that long, but we are back. We've gotten some interviews done. We've got a full roster for season 2 of posting, so we will
get a sweet new setup.
Yeah,
if you're watching,
we've got a new neon sign and new stuff hung up. So we were just back,
ready for season 2.
And there was something that brought us out from the depths that made us want to record today.
Yeah.
Graham, you want to give us a little rundown? If you've been under a rock, you might have not have heard about this Chiefs player.
I feel like for the most part, if you've been alive in the past week, you've probably heard about the Chiefs Kicker Harrison Butker's speech at Benedictine Catholic College. He gave a graduation speech, if you want to call it that, to Catholic graduates, and it was just, the speech was laced with obviously very traditionally old school Catholic views that, to what seems like the general population, comes off as quite misogynistic, homophobic, assigning gender roles. Like, he came for IVF, abortion, of course. Again, abortion. There was a whole, it felt to me like he was running for office more than he was giving like a graduation speech, like, while still throwing Catholic values in there, of course. But yeah, I think what we should do, let's go ahead and watch kind of the highlights. I did personally read through the whole speech. I think it was 20 minutes, obviously faster to read it, but let's just go through it, kind of dissect it, and we'll kind of dive into all the topics popping up.
So we're just going to do the highlights because I'm sure you've probably seen it, but let's just get into this, I guess.
Yeah.
The women who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now, about to cross this stage, and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world.
Can you pause it? So let's just kind of dissect that first point right away. I feel like that might be the easiest way to kind of break this down into chunks.
Yeah.
So again, Benedictine, it is a Catholic school, Catholic college out in nowhere, Kansas. Yes, like I would say that...
It was in Kansas. Oh, yeah.
It's in Kansas. So I would say from what he said, yes, like this is very in line with the old school Catholic values. Like, to me, it sounds like 1940s, 50s, 60s, that kind of, if you're a woman, like,
you're a homemaker.
You're either, some of you may have a career, but he's saying, but I'm guessing the majority of you, like, will find the most joy or whatever, having a kid.
Yeah.
So my issues with that, where does that leave people who can't have kids or don't want kids?
And do you want to bring up the thing about the nuns?
Yes. So we also saw an article posted across several, reputable news sources, and we can talk about that too. I guess the nuns at Benedictine, I think, I might be saying that wrong, but it sounded like they didn't agree with, this aspect of the speech. Just as a friend, a really close friend of mine brought up too, imagine just being a nun in there who has essentially devoted their life to God. Like, they're never gonna have a husband or kids. So where does that mean, like, they have no value?
Right.
Other than,
he's
like,
in a room full of nuns, and he's like, your life is not going to start until you have kids.
Yeah.
or get married, and those nuns are not going to do either of those.
Right.
So you're essentially saying that their lives are not going to have meaning.
Yeah.
Which is
He
not
just didn't
good.
address it, I guess, but it's still kind of
Yeah.
reading between the lines. You
For
know?
sure. So we're only a little bit
Yeah,
into this.
we'll
Let's
keep
going.
for sure.
I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. By making it to this moment through all the adversity thrown your way from COVID, I hope you learned the important lessons that suffering in this life is only temporary. As a group, you witnessed firsthand how bad leaders who don't stay in their lane can have a negative impact on
Stay in
society.
their lane.
While COVID might have played a large role throughout your formative years, it is not unique. Bad policies and poor leadership have negatively impacted major life issues. Things like abortion, IVF, surrogacy, euthanasia, as well as a growing support for degenerate cultural values in media, all stem from the pervasiveness of disorder.
Let's pause. So he continued on talking about his wife. I've seen a lot of people making this comment, and I kind of feel the same way. In an economy where prices have inflated and inflated multiple times over the past 4 years, like, that also doesn't really come across very well to people. I mean, we're obviously in a pretty good situation, but I can't imagine having kids in this economy and saying, like, obviously, like, oh, well, you know, my wife was most blessed to be, you know, stay at home. You know, he goes on to
when
say
you're
homemaker,
a high-paid NFL kicker, I'm sure
So
she's
many
happy that she can just stay at home and raise the kids.
and
but
there's
that's not-
nothing wrong with that. I want to clarify.
Oh, yeah.
I have absolutely no issue
It's a hard job.
with the people that want to stay home, or maybe financially it could make more sense in some cases.
Oh, yeah, 'cause daycare and
because
stuff.
daycare is crazy. I get it, but also there are parts of this country that one income will not do it.
Suffice, no.
Sometimes you need, you know, more
They
than
would
one
dual income
parent
household.
to whatever the kind of household dynamic it is. You might need two incomes.
For
so-
sure. And I think this part of the speech is specifically where I was like, why are you saying these things at a graduation speech?
Right.
Like, you're getting on your political tirade that you would do, like, you know, with close friends. And it's like, you're talking to people. This is the time to inspire and reflect, not be like, oh, yeah, the government. It's like, this is not the time.
It just, I kind of see it as, like, I mean, obviously, and I also want to clarify, I grew up Catholic, and I spent, you know, 2+ decades, you know, worshiping and being involved with the church. And I don't have an issue with Catholics, but I do have an issue when religion in general is taken to an extreme view. And a lot of these things kind of coincide, honestly, with a lot of, like, the far right. You know, I hate to
Way
get
of
political,
thinking.
but that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, there's a political aspect to say that this is all, like, disorder. Like,
Yeah.
he's basically saying that people have mental issues if they're not straight or white,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh, we haven't
That's how
gotten to
I
that
get it,
part,
but-
so let's just finish this out.
Yeah.
Our own nation is led by a man who publicly and proudly proclaims his Catholic faith, but at the same time is delusional enough to make the sign of the cross during a pro-abortion rally. He has been so vocal in his support for the murder of innocent babies that I'm sure to many people it appears that you can be both Catholic and pro-choice. The world around us says that we should keep our beliefs to ourselves whenever they go against the tyranny of diversity, equity, and inclusion. We fear speaking truth because now, unfortunately, truth is in the minority. Congress just passed a bill where stating something as basic as the biblical teaching of who killed Jesus could land you in jail. I am certain the reporters at the AP could not have imagined that their attempt to rebuke and embarrass places and people like those here at Benedictine wouldn't be met with anger, but instead met with excitement and pride. Not the deadly sin sort of pride that has an entire month dedicated to it,
There it
but the
is.
true God-centered pride that is cooperating with the Holy Ghost to glorify Him.
Did you hear it sounded like did they laugh?
They laughed. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. So obviously there's still a lot to unpack there. I wanted to talk a little bit more about the abortion thing is very big. Obviously that was even a hot topic when I was in school. Like, they made they made us do a public speech, and they divided our groups into make an argument for pro-life and make an argument for pro-choice.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, going to Catholic school, you know,
It was pro-life.
pro-life is like what they see. And, you know, that's, again, religion, you know. I still think it's an overstep when you start to try to use your faith to control women's bodies and try to get this legislation and government to pass, you know.
Especially when there needs to be, like it's always said, that there's going to be a separation of church and state. So you can't
Right.
use your church reasoning as a reason to pass laws, because that's just
That's why they just say it's traditional values,
Yeah.
you know, which is
a loophole.
religion-based, you know.
Yeah.
I don't understand, especially from the same group that likes to preach, you're infringing on my freedom, like the COVID thing, you know, we didn't even talk about that. That is something I'm willing to talk and debate about. Looking back retrospectively, you know, I'm glad it kind of ended up the way it did, you know, like the government didn't force people to get vaccines directly, you know what I mean? Like, I don't believe that a government should tell you have to take something you don't want, but also what gives you the right to potentially spread a sickness, you know, especially in those early months before there was a vaccine, you know. We could go on and on about that. I get where they're coming from. I have my own opinions about it too. That happy debate about all the time, but to bring up and rally up saying that, you know, like basically gay pride the month of June is like a deadly sin sort of pride, that is, to me, doing nothing but further dividing us, you know. Like, yes, again, sure, maybe it was the right place, maybe it was the right crowd, because again, that old school Catholic, being gay is a deadly sin and you're going to hell. But at what point does that, like, why does your religion, why should it impact me and how I live my life? You know how many religions there are out there?
Right.
Like, what makes Catholicism, especially this, like, very far, you know, extreme view, what makes that better than any other religion that people practice? Like, this is a free country, and I don't understand this whole back and forth. Like, we should, if we're going to be a free country, we should be free to practice or not practice whatever religion is it, you know, it is.
Yeah.
And there should be no religious, you know, connotations tied up in our law, you know, when it affects another person. Like, it sounds to me like saying a deadly sin sort of pride, like that just obviously is a direct slam to us, our community.
Yeah.
And then, like, people expect us to not talk about this, you know. And that's what, in my mind, like, yeah, the arguments are, well, he was speaking to a Catholic group. Well, it's still a public speech. It was still published in public for the masses to view, and that can go either direction, you know. Anything is up for discourse, you know?
For sure. And that's where, you know, a lot of people that are defending this are like, you know, it's free speech, he could do it. That's very true. He has every right to say that, but that's also every right for us to comment about it. And I don't think this is even a case of like cancel culture, but it's still just like shocking.
Well, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
There are people
calling for
Harrison Butker to be, you know, terminated from the Chiefs, which I have mixed feelings about the whole thing. Like, obviously, I'm never going to align with the person that fundamentally believes I should be treated as less than human.
Yeah.
And I should have no rights to marriage or, you know, anything, right? It's just a slippery slope.
For sure. And that's where it's like, we're free to have this discourse because he put those views out there. I think what was just sad is just, it's another reminder that people still feel this way, and they also feel
it's archaic,
safe enough to voice that literally on a huge platform, or it's just like you're hating on someone.
Yeah, you're using your
like,
platform, your religion as a weapon.
You're literally saying all of us are going to hell, and it's like,
and even, I mean, I will be the first to tell you, you know, after growing up in the church for 20 years, I can't say that I'm just a straight up atheist. Like, I still have my own thoughts and feelings, and, you know, when I was younger, like, I would pray to God and ask for help, and sometimes I felt like I had that little help, you know what I mean, that
Oh,
I was
for
needed.
sure.
And like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
And
being a
that's
free
our-
country, like, I am all supporting you to, you know, celebrate your faith and be able to participate as long as you're not hurting anyone.
Yeah, I
or
think-
trying to spread your views into the government policy. And that's what this all comes down to.
I know. I definitely think that that's our disclaimer is nothing against religion.
No.
Whatever brings you peace and helps you through these things, as long as you're not hurting anyone, go do you. But this was just
They just
a
said-
slap to the face. And you had an interesting thing happen. Graham
yeah.
was like a little Facebook warrior and
Yeah.
shared, of course, like an article about this, and it
Yeah.
always brings out the Facebook crowd. But you had someone kind of defending this on your page.
They were playing devil's advocate,
Quote unquote,
so
that's
to
what they
speak,
said, yeah.
saying, well, I'm not Catholic, but this is how the Catholic feels, and it should be okay for them to believe that, like to not believe in Pride Month or...
Yeah, the
that,
argument was basically like, you can't get mad, Graham, that people think this way because people have the right to feel this way. And
again, there's like... I don't want to infringe on someone's freedom of speech, but again, it's not free from consequences.
Right. And I think this was something that finally sparked a new way of thinking for me, is this person was like, well, I don't feel this way, but people do, and I'm going to play devil's advocate and argue for them. And that's where I kind of got super standoffish and is like, if you don't feel this way, why are you defending someone that does?
Yeah.
Let them speak for themselves, but why have the argument, especially when you're arguing with someone who is gay, that is saying like, I'm upset that this person said we're all going to hell, and then you come on here to your Facebook page and say, well, people can think that way. I want to hear your train of thought. Why is that okay?
Yeah.
And again, it's like, why is it okay for people to think that we're going to hell?
It's their religion, I guess. But again, your religion does not apply to me. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, your views. Speaking of staying in your lane, I mentioned I read the whole
thing, because that's the other
speech. There's a whole lot. We didn't even touch on that. He said, I don't know how many times, for just stay in your own lane. No, how about, dude, you keep your faith in your own lane,
Yeah, and for the people, the other defense to his thing is, you didn't watch the whole thing.
I did. There's nothing. The only reason that would be a beautiful speech is if that's how you truly feel. And if you're not Catholic and you feel that was a beautiful speech, and that says a lot about you, and it says a lot about how you want to use religion to discriminate. And
another thing that was brought up that was very misogynistic of him was, obviously he plays on the same team as Travis Kelce, who is dating Taylor Swift, and he quoted one of her songs, or it was brought up, and he said, my teammate's girlfriend, rather than giving her the credit that she has created her own persona, her own career, but to just shrink her down to be like, oh, well, he's my teammate's girlfriend. Yeah. She is a prominent... If you would have said her name, everyone in the room would have known who you were talking about.
Oh, they did know, though. That's how they're sneaky with it. Mm-hmm. They get away with it.
I think he was too scared to say her names, because then she would have been involved, and she could have really sent the Swifties after him to rip him to shreds. I think he knew better. Because, again, he was really dancing a line with that. The whole speech. So...
Yeah, for sure. Gosh. But I don't know. Another 2 cents for me. So obviously we've talked, I want to go back and touch on the women aspect again too. Also imagine, and sure, maybe some of the women do have those views that being their vocation as a wife is the most important thing. So maybe they did agree. I don't care if they gave a standing ovation or not. But it's so this is at a public level now. And you have to think, besides the nuns, there would have to be other women graduating thinking, wow, did I really just spend, 16 years, kindergarten through, a senior in college?
Yeah.
It was college, yeah. Imagine going through all that, obtaining a degree, and then being told, well, you could have that, but you're probably not, your life... you know, like my wife, her life didn't truly, begin until she was married to me. You know, like, why would a woman's worth have to be tied to being with a man or anyone? Like, I'm just tired of like these old school ideals. Having like it's 2024. Like, why? And if you're truly for freedom, you should be freedom for everyone. Everyone should be able to make whatever choices they want to make. So long as it's legal and not harming anyone.
For sure. So I will say positive is like these kind of speeches are becoming few and far between, and I think
it brings up good discourse. It's a good reminder that we all have different views. And again, you're free to have those views if you have them, but I'm also free to think you're an asshole too. If you want to believe in a religion that is saying, no, sorry, you can't get married, this woman can't have an abortion, you know, you're going to hell. Like, for sure. And why pick and choose from just that too? Like, if you really want to get into the Bible, which, again, as I mentioned too, like, the Bible has been translated and rewritten and retranslated and rewritten into oblivion. I mean, I had to double check. I think it wasn't until 1946 that the Bible actually used the word homosexual. Like, it's obviously more of a reflection of like attitudes at the time. And sure, the 1940s, that was like the Great Depression. You know, that was before women could get credit cards and work. You know, that was just a very different time. And we're still using that, you know, kind of language today when maybe it wasn't even used before. I don't know. That's the truth about it. It's an old book, and a lot of it's the Old Testament anyway. For sure. From being a Catholic, I'm going to play the devil's advocate now. I learned a lot of good things in that school, you know, like how to be a good person, you know, and they like to say Jesus is love, you know what I mean? Like, he loves everybody. Like, not just people that are righteous, you know.
Love thy neighbor.
Well,
is there anything else you wanted to mention?
I think just last thing, like, at the end of the day, whether Harrison Butker likes it or not, and he is a representative of the Chiefs. So people don't want him to be canceled, you know, or whatever, but
you're a public figure.
You're a public figure. Discourse, again, does not mean cancellation, like you were saying earlier. It's just, it is what it is, you know. Our opinions and views on things are just as valid as his, yours, theirs. That's where we're at in this country, you know, and that is why it is a good country.
For sure.
But just stop trying to force it onto us, okay?
Like, don't shove it down our throat.
Yes. Yeah. Why? Okay. Can we talk about that with like a historically like kind of homophobic like fraction of the society? Why do they always say, well, quit trying to shove it down my throat? No one is trying to shove it down your throat, man. We are out there. Gay people marched for decades after Stonewall in 64 because queer people fought back from a society that oppressed them, and then marched for decades before we even had any kind of, I think it was Clinton, I think in like the mid 90s, I think he finally like made Pride like a national celebration or something. I could be wrong. But we had to march for our rights as people. Like, think about gay marriage, the Marriage Equality Act. What was that, 2015, 2016? Somewhere around there. These things are still happening, man.
Well, and if you step out of your bubble and you realize, like, from holistic, all the TV shows, all the movies, all the books that there are, how many are heteronormative focused? It's like, even if, like, we're still so many years off, even if, like, from now on we only produce gay content, like, as a society, it's still going to take years for us to be, like, have the same amount of content. So, like, it's not shoving it down your throat. You're either choosing to consume that media, or you're overly exposing yourself to it when there's not as much out there. So that's on you. Yeah,
there's reason that it's popping up on your algorithm. Boo boo. Sorry.
Yes. So
sorry. I did have one other thing. Okay. So we can include this little screenshot, and then I also want to get my meme of the weekend too. So again, I'm going to bring up this argument one last time that I kept seeing on the other side with, well, if you just read the whole speech. So I commented on, it was just a Facebook friend. I didn't even really know who this person was. I don't think I've met them in real life, but I just said, hey, I read it and it's still trash. It still said the same thing. So, of course, I open myself up to criticism when I comment on that too, what I believe. So what do you think? Like, I mean, obviously, I guess you've seen it, but I'm sure the viewers can have a pretty easy guess as to, what kind of comments I was getting back, and it was maybe just one person. So I said, I read it and it's still trash. And this guy said, gay guy doesn't like traditional values. Shocker. So I put the flipping off emoji and I just said, go to hell. You know what I mean? At that point, he said, I live in a country that prioritizes the rainbow flag over the American flag. I'm already in hell. White man being oppressed. Oh my God, in 2024? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, you're the oppressed one. You're not the one battling legislation every 4 years or whatever, fearing for like your rights.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Deal with it. It's a free country. Our men and women in the service are fighting for all of us. I'm sorry. That's what it is. Like, maybe we're living in hell, with having to deal with, this extreme religion. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Meme of the week.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Jeez, Graham was fired up today.
Yeah. It's just one of those things, man. It's just, I'm not going to put up with this stuff anymore.
No,
I'm 30 plus years old. I'm tired of it. Like, it took me long enough to come into the person that I am and to just see, like...
And it's so crazy just to have people still, like, in our circles that are saying these things to us. And it's like, how dare you? It's just so crazy that people feel that they have the right... And you do have the right to say it, but it's just like gall to say that to us. It's like, oh my gosh, I can only imagine what you say behind closed doors.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Okay, meme of the week. Let's wrap it up.
Yeah, so I'll give you some context. We'll put the picture in there. Long story short, the Chargers, another team in the NFL, they did they put their like schedule, they made a video this year for like what their upcoming schedule is looking like. It kind of looks like The Sims of Harrison Butker, and they like put him in the kitchen like cooking a meal, cleaning the kitchen, like everything that it basically the irony of what it sounded like he was telling women their greatest accomplishment would be. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Thank you. Yes, that is very good stuff. Well, I think that will wrap it up.
Yeah.
Thank you for holding out if you've been waiting for us to upload. Going to give you the spiel right now. Like and subscribe us on YouTube. We passed up 1,000 subscribers on our break, which is just crazy.
Don't know if we can see Pepper, but we gotta acknowledge she's got us some subbies. So.
Yes, and then we got an awesome message from a listener in the UK who says he loves listening to this on his runs. So thank you for messaging us. That was awesome. So
good inspiration to keep going.
Yeah.
It lit a fire under this guy.
Yeah.
It was like, we got to get back into this.
Yeah. So. And then if you are listening to us on Spotify or any podcast stuff, please review us or rate us. That really helps us out. It gives us the courage to keep going.
Yeah. We want to be a voice for people for sure.
Yeah. So comment, boost that algorithm. We're trying to do what we can to keep this going. And
let us know what you want us to talk about.
Yeah.
If there's anything else. Yeah. We're all ears.
Yep. And we will see you next week.
All right. Thank you.